Hi guys, this is Nadia Hilker. I'm playing Magna on The Walking Dead, and you guys are listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through. I hope you guys enjoy this podcast, and I'm sending you all my love. Bye!
Hello, my name is Cassie McClincy. I play Lydia on The Walking Dead, and you're listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through. Yeah!
Hey there guys, I'm Callan McAuliffe and you're listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through on Talk Through Media.
Hey, I'm Lindsley Register and I play Laura on The Walking Dead. You're listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through on Talk Through Media.
Hey, this is Ross Marquand and you're listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through. Awesome.
Hey survivors, welcome to episode 159 of The Walking Dead Talk Through, the One Who Live edition, or Ones Who Live edition. I'm Kyle.
And I'm LT.
Hey!
Yay!
Another week.
I
Brian.
was going to say, 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I know. That's like a stretch for us now. Brian was unable to join us tonight. He's going to try to send us some feedback, so hopefully he does, and I can add that in. But otherwise, he should be with us next week. All right. Well, we didn't have any comments from last week, so we will just go into this week. We're covering The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, Season 1, Episode 2, titled Gone, written by Nkweti and Channing Powell, directed by Bert and Bertie, and the description on YouTube TV was Michonne finds unexpected help on her search for Rick. Ooh. All right, let's get into our ratings. LT, what did you give this episode?
Well, this week we've fallen by half a point to a 9, and that's 9 Tyrion Lannister air defense, or what Jada said.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Because I'm keeping our family-friendly rating this week.
This is a good episode, and there's probably some other, more clever, because I know the Rockets were kind of like a fan favorite. I gave it a 9. Whizzy Rockets of fun.
Well, and the reason that they got a whole point off, even though I really loved the episode, was, well, we'll get into that, but there has been some foreshadowing from the audience on what I'm going to gripe about. So there you go, kids.
Awesome. Yeah, I that was the first thought in my mind when I even saw them.
And actually, it was not the very first thing that happened, but we'll get into that.
Get to it. All right. Well, let's get into our listener ratings. I'll go first. Dieta from Detroit gave it an 8 out of 10. Rockets a-blazing, with some rocket emojis and some exploding emojis.
And Glenn from Toronto says a 10 out of 10, the parting of the Red Sea of Walkers.
Yep, that was a very good one. That was a good effect. Renee from Fairburn gave it 100 out of 10. Rashone. And she says, Brian, you talked about me last week, so I changed my ratings to 100 out of 10. And also, Brian, Rick Grimes always has swagger, whether he's clean or dirty, even when he's biting someone in their jugular. Peace emoji.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, and we've got Mike from Asheville, who says 8 out of 10, keep the herd moving.
Nice. All right, well, that takes us into our awesome sauce. Alrighty, our first awesome sauce comes from Dieta from Detroit, and she says, seeing the reunion of Rick and Michonne. Okay.
And next up is Glennis from Toronto, who says, that scream stick is one mighty weapon.
Mm-hmm. And Renee from Fairburn gives it, she says, her awesome sauce is Michonne back together again was truly awesome to see. When Michonne's friend died, Rick went and killed that CRM guy just like the old days. They always have each other's back. That's what I love about them. And the Nomads were a great addition to the show, even though they were only there for one episode. Yeah, I would say that they were in 2 episodes because that was like that one final scene.
Yeah.
That Michonne was like looking across from the valley and saw their caravan.
Yep. All right, so Mike from Asheville says, seeing a massive herd of walkers, using explosions and color to distract the walkers and split them up. Mm-hmm. Nat, what a great character that I wish we could continue with. He had a lot of cool gadgets and ideas. And he says, I'm sure LT will talk about the logistics and accuracy of the arrow gun. Oh, yes, I will, Mike. Oh, yes, I will. And he finishes up with, Jadis has returned.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I have some to say about that too. All right. Thank you, everyone, for your awesome sauces. All right, LT, I guess I'll just let you take it away.
Okay. Well, and the bad thing is, it's like so many episodes I've done before, I'm going to have a lot of weeks and a lot of whats, but it's only because that is just annoying me at this point. But I gave it a 9, so there is some awesome to be had. And I'm going to say Michonne. Finally, we get her back. We get to see her swinging the katanas. We get to see her doing her thing. And it was good to see her back in the saddle. It's good to see her back into character. Mm-hmm. And, I really enjoyed, seeing her back on the show.
Yep.
I've got an awesome sauce, even though I know she's not your favorite. I'm definitely giving an awesome for Jadis, because she's been our one linchpin character for all this CRM shenanigans. And just that conversation she had with Rick at the end, if you go back to the kids show, when we first saw her, when she was the trash pile lady, you kind of didn't get the full measure of what she is and how she is. But when we were watching the kids show, you got to see, just how slick and cunning and, intriguey she is. And just that conversation with Rick at the end of the show makes me think that she knows more than we're comfortable with.
But
let's throw this out there. So why is it that Rick wasn't executed for having 4 escape attempts?
Yep.
See, that's why I think that, Jadis is playing a long game, and she's got Rick as one of her players, because we know that that's what she does.
Yeah.
So sure. I will say that I didn't like her character that much when she was the trash lady, and she started making me think during the kids show, and I've had time to ruminate over it. And I really think there's a lot of depth in that character that we just didn't see. And for God's sake, Pollyanna McIntosh has 50 different personalities, because when she was doing her undercover stuff, she was completely different than the next time we saw her, and then the next time we saw her. So, she's definitely bringing it.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed that quite a bit. And just so when the next section comes, I don't want to dog him too hard. Oh, Nat, we only knew you for a season. They definitely T-dogged him. We got a lot of character development, a lot of build up, and a lot of stuff. And the fact that he was with Michonne is going to be important later. And I think that that's going to color some of the actions going forward. But for the love of God, Gimple, 1 episode. What is it with you? And we know anybody gets any exposition, any character development, they are going to die if they are more than 1 degree of separation away from Rick.
True.
And as I said, I like the character. I like what he did for the most part. I think it was very interesting seeing his interaction with the nomads and how, just the fact that Michonne was doing her thing was able to pull him off of the main group. But, they did it to us again, kids.
Yep. They're good at that too.
Yes, they are. So that is that. I will relinquish the awesome helm to you, sir.
All right. Well, I pretty much had the same kind of stuff. Because I agree. It's like Nat, like he was a great character. And again, that's what they do, because this even happened in Fear. It's like we finally, like, there's just like all this development. They draw us right in. We really like the character. He was like just a very quirky, kind of had the comedic part for the episode.
Yeah,
and we got backstory about his father, and then his stepfather or whoever, his wife or his mom, ended up bringing danger or whatever. But yeah, and it was like, and he had all these skills. I almost actually did put it in my sad sauce, but I'll talk about that later. But it was just like, oh man, like I really was like excited to be like, well, maybe like he'll go to the Commonwealth and like join the group, because like he's got skills and he's him and Michonne hit it off and all this stuff, and sure enough, nope. It's like, oh, like,
well, and we've said it before, and just to sidebar it real quick, we know that if you watch Game of Thrones, that George R.R. Martin will kill somebody in a skinny minute. That even if you read the books, it doesn't matter if they have a paragraph of character development, a chapter of character development, or 2 books of character development, everybody is at risk to die in Game of Thrones verse. But daggone it, Walking Dead is, if you get 1 episode of lots of character exposition, you will be dead by the time the credits roll. You've done it to us every stinking time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like anybody who gets that intense level of character development, and we really start to like them.
Yeah, it's like
because even if you look at some of the other shows, you didn't quite get that level of character development on anybody in the kids show until the last episode. They built it on a slow roll. But if you get lots of backstory and lots of stuff, they ain't long for this world.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost kind of like they've kind of switched their whole almost their formula, because before it was like that's what we were scared of, because like our main characters would be like, oh no, anybody could die, we always know that, but it's like, but when? And now it's like, oh boom, no, we're just going to get rid of these people, and like our main characters are obviously the ones that are important.
Any of the main characters, if they were going to kill somebody off that was like 2 degrees or 3 degrees of Rick, then there was always a big, something's bad is going to happen.
Yeah.
There's always a lot of press foreshadowing and then blammo.
Yeah.
So it kind of takes the immediacy out of it. For these poor randos, they get their moment in the sun, and then it is no more.
Oh well, I guess, yeah, there's nowhere else for them to go.
It's gimplitude, I guess.
Yeah.
Gimpelocity.
Well, also I will say it's like, yeah, it was like Michonne looking happy, and just Michonne being back and seeing her basically be her total, like, just talking to what was the leader's name of the nomads, but I think it was L or something like that. So we start off right at the bat, and she's just like, I don't, it's like, it's like, you left them behind. Like, I don't know. It's just Michonne being Michonne. And then, that she's like, you don't want to mess with her. But then seeing her basically get, basically letting her guard down a little bit. And then also getting to know Bailey and Aiden, the girlfriend that she saved, and then or the sister, all that stuff. So, and then of course that goes throughout the whole episode. But it's just seeing her, happy, kind of, or happy for what's going on, and just smiling, and then all that gets ripped away, and but it's still so good to finally see her after all this time, and just that character is always awesome.
Yep.
How people talked about the herd. Yeah, it was cool. Just seeing the massive, and you would think that's what would happen. We know that the walkers do, congregate and then they start collecting, and then as they roam, more come and blah, blah, blah. But then seeing it on that scale was really, really cool. And just seeing Michonne kind of basically like right in the front and you just outstretched in front of her. And then also Jadis, Pollyanna McIntosh, I think like what you were saying too, it's like when she was with the trash people, we didn't know what was necessarily going on. That was her character. She was like with this mysterious trash people. Of course, our group was like having to deal with them. And then of course, Rick ended up sleeping with her. And then it was like the kids show came around, and that came into giving us a little bit more, depth of her character. But even then it was kind of like, oh yeah, it's like, she's still the trash person. It's like, oh, she's just speaking in riddles and blah, blah, blah. To now, after all this time, and then seeing her, and seriously, that whole scene was just so tense and was so riveting, and so like I felt really like, okay, I don't like her, but then she is like the perfect like antagonist for this whole thing. Like what they've done, and then of course her acting is making her character like, now I'm like, I like her character so much. Like, and
Kyle, you and I have griped about this forever, is that nobody has ever been, we've been lacking really good bad guys. That, the governor had that gravitas. When Negan was on his bad streak, Negan had that. Alpha had that certain thing, but Alpha's kind of didn't last long. There was like, there was some things going on with it, but this is next level for me. I mean, it's like, she's a bad guy. You want to hate her, but yet she's actually helping Rick out. So you're kind of going, well, and you're hoping, who is scheming harder? Rick or her, and so I think if they can maintain that intensity, I'm sold. I mean, that makes me really happy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what also helps elevate, because you're right. It's like, Alpha, like scary and also mean, but also it's just, it was almost kind of like this whole different dimension of what Alpha was. But then also kind of just, it stayed in that same kind of level. You just knew she was crazy. She just like could do anything. And so that kind of made her frightening. This, on the other hand, is like your best friend that knows you in and out, having that kind of like knowledge and then power over you in that sense, that this makes this is a whole nother level. And I think that's what getting, like what she was saying. She's like, that I'm like, I can have everybody that you love killed. And then she even says like, and the ones that I even liked, like there's just intimacy, that like connection, that background that just totally just for me made her just like, I'm excited to see what's going to happen. And you're right. She's in it for herself. She's a survivor. So whatever she's done to get herself in this position in the CRM can be a benefit or could be not, because she's going to do it for whatever serves her purpose. And that could mean that she gets to the point where people are a resource. Right. Exactly. So,
and this also makes me wonder, Rick's been in the CRM for about 5 years now?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So how long has this been going on? So
true.
That adds another layer to it, because, is this something that's been the little cat and mouse game? Is Rick her double agent? There's an infinite amount of possibilities in here.
No, true. And also that's like, this is the first time that we've seen them together. So you're right. We don't know if they've had other interactions before this, because it seems like at some point, even before Michonne shows up, that there was, he had to know that Jadis was there at some point.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, it's good. I don't know. It's kind of the icing on the cake that was perfect for the end of the episode. All right. Well, that was it for Awesomes. So let's get into our week.
You're worthless and weak.
We did not have any from our listeners. They put some more, I think, in Wats's, but and that's where I kind of put some of my stuff. So LT, looks like you have some week.
Oh, I do. The first thing I'm going to start off with is let's talk about rockets, shall we? Just as a sidebar, besides all the stuff that I did in the military, I've also been a model rocket flyer and builder since I was about 12. So let's talk about the first rocket that we saw that Michonne used on the herd. There's no fins and it's too short. If you look at the rockets that were used as the first artillery back in the Napoleonic era, they basically were like a big bottle rocket. So it's like a motor on a stick. Well, in order to have functional stability, if you use a stick, it has to be at least 10 times longer than the diameter of the motor. So the little stubby rocket that looks like 2 sticks of dynamite or a road flare with the little pointy arrow on the end of it, I don't think it's going to be stable because I didn't see any fins. It didn't have pop-out fins that I saw. And let's talk about that explosion at the end, shall we? That's like bigger than grenade launcher, bigger than RPG type explosion. And I'm sorry, you can't, there's not an explosive that I know of that you can pack enough of in something that size and still have enough motor to make it fly that long, even if you disregard the stability issues, to make an explosion that big. Not unless, there was some guy that had 2 55-gallon drums of gasoline on his back that she just managed to hit in the crowd. Now, I understand that the guy carrying the 2 gas cans blew up like a nuke, but no, that rocket's not going to blow up that much. So now let's talk about the helicopter. So you got basically the same size rocket or maybe a little longer. And just the notion of being able to hit a Black Hawk that's probably doing about, let's say, 250. And let's talk about the fact that most aircraft windshields are designed to take the impacts of birds, objects. You're not going to get that much enough velocity out of that size rocket with that size motor to get that kind of penetration to go through either the plexiglass or the aluminum of the helicopter to penetrate all the way through the pilot's seat, which is armored. And the explosion is about on par if you discount the fact that there had to have been a propelling motor inside the rocket to make it fly up and hit the helicopter. They did answer your question, Kyle, of what was the whizzing noise. And that was not, rapid firing rockets at the helicopter.
Yeah.
So we know what the whiz, whiz, whiz was.
Yep.
But I'm just like, no, it's too small. It's not big enough. It's not long enough. So that kind of took me right out of it because I was going, no. The second thing that I have to what over is, okay, so the convoy was parked in that city block. They saw the Apache fly over, and then the Apache flies back over and starts dropping bombs on them. The problem is the AH-64 is not equipped with bombs. It carries missiles. So there's not, to my knowledge, any droppy type mechanism for that thing unless it's something that they jerry-rigged.
Mm-hmm.
And the level of cloud density that you got off of what they dropped, I never saw the canisters come off of it. And for that much cloud and that much area, you would have had to have a lot of chlorine, because there is footage out on the internet. It's on YouTube. And I want to say it was Midland, Texas. They had a chlorine leak on a tank car.
Mm-hmm.
A tank car full of chlorine. And it leaked and it killed lots of people. And there's footage of the dash cam of the officer who responded, which is pretty freaky. But even a tank car load of chlorine only did like ground fog.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't like, because see, that was like smoke grenade level of smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd have to smoke a lot to get that kind of smoke density. And so that was my first thing. Chlorine, yes, chlorine would have, burned your throat, burned your nose. The thing they didn't do is it burn your eyes. So that should have been an effect as well, but just, it was too cloudy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for the second part of it, if you were able to rig enough chlorine tanks to drop off a helo, there's a reason you don't drop gas bombs with a helicopter. And that's because the downdraft from the rotors would spread the smoke out. And again, if you've ever seen footage, there's some footage from either Desert Shield or Iraqi Freedom, of a Chinook landing in the desert. And you see the smoke, you see the dust go down and out and then start swirling back up. So if you were dropping gas canisters with a helicopter, it's going to disperse the gas.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm calling shenanigans on this one. So it's too much gas, way too cloudy, and you're dropping it from a helicopter. So that's vaguely problematic at best. So after all that, the last thing is, okay, so you found this group of survivors out in the open, and you've taken the opportunity to kill them with this gas. Do they not send up like follow-up teams to see if it worked?
Oh, yeah.
Generally speaking, if you're out to kill somebody, are you just not worried about it? You go, okay, well, I guess they're dead. And if they're not dead, they'll be dead. And if they're dead, they'll be walkers and we'll take care of them later. I guess it's just my point. If you're going to take the time to fly your Apache out and kill these people at random that you just saw walking down the side of the road, do you not care enough to at least go check to see if it worked?
Mm-hmm.
Because they were holed up in that building for quite some time while they were recovering. So it makes me think, obviously the CRM isn't much on follow-up. I guess that was my whole point, is that I'm thinking if you're going to take the time to take out a group of people, you want to go back and see if it worked.
Yeah. Yeah. True. You would think.
Or maybe they don't care. I don't know. But yeah, the whole rocket thing just tore me up, because I'm going, it's not an RPG. It's not long enough. It's not big enough. There's not enough room for payload. If it had been bigger, and that's the whole thing, is that if you look at a rocket from a law rocket, like a anti-tank round, it's 2.5, it's like 2.5 feet long. It's got a big warhead and a big motor. This just was a stick. I mean, I understand.
No, right. It was pretty small.
And I understand I could probably go right now with stuff that I could buy at Lowe's, and I know you can make rocket engines fairly easily, but making the earth-shattering kaboom at the end, there's just not enough room in that tube for enough explodey stuff to make the size of explosions that we were seeing.
Yeah.
And I didn't say it, but one of the ways that they test airplane windshields is they have an air cannon and they shoot chickens at it.
Oh, really?
They have a chicken cannon.
Oh, wow.
One of the things that the Air Force did, and there's footage of it out there, is that they were having a problem when the early jet fighters were going because, they hit a bird and the bird comes through the windshield and kills the pilot. So they actually test aircraft windshields with a chicken launcher.
Goodness.
And I'm just saying that I don't know if that rocket would have had enough juice to go through the front plexiglass of that Black Hawk like it did and go through the seat.
Yeah. Yeah. No, totally true. Because that's like armored or been,
Well, it's even if it's not really armored, I know that bullets will go through it, but the problem is when you're talking about a rifle round, even though it's very light, it's going very, very fast.
Right.
The whole thing about a rocket is you've only got a certain amount of velocity, and then it goes back to mass, and you're not really packing all that much weight. And then the next thing is the explosive ability. So
right.
It's just too small. And, even the rockets that they carry now on helicopters that are basically unguided rockets, I think a Hydra is 3 feet long and it's 2 3/4 inches in diameter. So his rocket was too short, too small, had no fins. So I will climb down off my soapbox.
Oh goodness! But that's what we like from ULTs. Like, you give us the in depth of the realities of. Actually,
well, I'm sorry. I know it's a TV show.
No,
that's always the answer.
Right.
That's always the answer I get. It's like, there's certain movies that my wife will watch with me and humor me, but it's like, he didn't reload. He fired 50 rounds out of that magazine. There's no way.
Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah.
That sort of stuff. Or my favorite is like, why is he reading him his Miranda rights? He's not asking him any questions that would, implement or incriminate him. He doesn't have to read him Miranda now.
Right.
He's just asking biological questions. You could do that without Miranda. Anyway.
Oh, goodness gracious. All right. Well, if that was all the weeks that we need to talk about, then that takes us into our what's.
What?
All right. First one comes from Renee from Fairburn. She says, Jadith, if you don't sit your smelly, dirt, bad haircut looking self down somewhere, girl, Rick Grimes would never. Talking about how he looks good. Oh, yeah. Well, true. I roll. Girl, I will drop kick you back into the trash bin you crawled out of. And I can't wait until Michonne beats her dirty ass into the pulp. And 2 fist emojis. All right, Renee doesn't like Jadis.
Yes. And of course, that goes Mike from Asheville, who says, The Moving Village. I appreciate seeing something new, but it's insane that they have that many people on the move always. The noise, the space, and the gas. Yes, Mike, I will have to agree. So I guess now it's time for our what sauce.
What?
And now our what sauce.
Yes. We got whatted again.
Yep. All right, LT, you go first since I have some what. Yep.
Okay, hang on a second. It's asking me stupid questions. Okay. All right. So now our what sauce. And my first what sauce is something that I've already beat on a little bit, but I'm going to beat on it some more. Once again, we are subjected to the T-Dog syndrome. Yeah. And it's like, why, Scott? Why? And since I've already complained, I won't complain much more, but doggone it. give us a character. If you're going to do that, at least wait till 2 episodes.
Seriously. Yeah.
And much to the same beat that Mike just hit, why nomads? Now, okay, I could sort of buy it if they go up and down the same road all the time, and they have sort of like a little base set up at one end and a little base set up at one end, and they have a cache that they can stop. But are they just like doing the retired person in an RV hobo thing and just basically just going different places? It kind of makes me wonder, because you've got that big wagon train, and what if they happen to pick a road that the bridge is out? How do you turn that big monstrosity around?
Seriously. Yeah.
Do they have route reconnaissance going up front to make sure that they can, cross the bridges and do the things?
Mm-hmm.
I understand the principle of it, but it's a thin principle. Because, yes. Okay, I get it. For some of it, you're like Canadian golfers. You go to Florida in the winter to play golf, and then when it warms back up, you go back to Canada to play more golf. Okay. Completely down with that. I understand. You want to minimize your cold weather exposure and whatnot. But this looked like they had, this wasn't like trailers. This is not like campers. It's like they had a freaking house on a wagon.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, no.
Yeah.
And let's just go back into the logistics of, you got to have something to pull it. You got to feed what pulls it. If it's horses, the horses have to have silage. You have to, if they're on asphalt, you have to be able to shoe the horses, because asphalt is rough on unshod hooves. And, you're talking about weight, and you still got to deal with food and water. And if you've got food and water and you're moving, it means you have to have it on a wagon, and that's going to be weight.
Right.
And if you're worried about the walkers, it's like, go somewhere where they're not, pick a place, are they just going north and south? Did they go east and west too?
Mm-hmm.
And it just seems like to me that it's an interesting proposition, but I don't know if I would be signed on to that program that well.
Yeah.
Cause like I said, just the as the man said, the devil's in the details, and it sounds good on a high level, but the closer you get to the weeds on it, there's just way too many moving parts and too many things, and too many considerations.
No, all right. It's like, it just like, and there was another part that I had in my watts, but it's just kind of like, for one, we don't get any kind of information on what they're doing exactly. Like you said, are they going to certain points that are kind of their bases and they're just kind of scavenging and that's what they're doing? Or are they just saying we need to constantly be on the move because that's what keeps us safe? And so then they just leave people behind that like slow them down. But you have to also remember that it's like, this is like how many years now into the ZA? Like
quite a few.
You're right. So like, are you just doing a big circle? Like, are you going somewhere? Have you been traveling since from the West Coast? You're going to the East? It's like, I don't know. It just seems very like, why wouldn't you want to have somewhere that you kind of had a base at? And of course, we don't know that, and they don't tell us that or anything like that. It's just, we just know that's like they're constantly moving. And then you do think about like, okay, well then the resources in that, and also we're this far into ZA and there's very limited resources.
Well, like, and let's make a practical consideration here. if you're staying on, as my people would say, the big roads, 85, 95, 40, actual big highways, it would probably be even more picked clean and hard to find stuff, because in the days earlier in the ZA, when everybody still had available gasoline and cars that ran, where are you going to do most of your digging first and the fastest? Close to the hardball. So then it's like, okay, then we're going to start taking, state routes or secondary roads.
Right.
Well, then you have to worry about, like I said before, are the bridges still intact? Can you actually get this big circus conglomeration of vehicles through that road? And then back around to what you said, are there anything left to pick of the slim pickings that are left?
Right. Exactly. No, and then
and I don't know. You tell me. It's kind of hard to like grow things
when you're moving.
Do they have the greenhouse wagon?
You're right. No, exactly. And that kind of led me into my other what was, because so when Michonne and Nat and all them, after they got gassed, they found that mall or whatever to kind of like recover in. And then Nat mentioned something about like, there's like this like medical or whatever place, and maybe they'll have oxygen tanks. And then I was like, and of course they ended up finding oxygen tanks. And I was kind of like, wait, like you're like how would there be any supplies in a mall? Like, and then it also led me into being like, well, if these people are traveling all the time, then how do they not run across people that have already run into the CRM and they like would know that there's these other groups and like that? And then the other thing, you're moving and like you would run into other groups that would probably be more powerful than your big giant circus caravan.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It really left a lot of just like, okay, sure. And then of course the leader, L, whatever her name was, she's like so nice and like, oh yeah, it's like you're like, we come stay with us and get to know us better and we'll just have a grand old time. And I'm like, that does not really fit to someone who's been surviving after this like 15.
Well, and then you start running into my other thing. Maybe this is mobile terminus.
Well,
come on, Michonne, let's have a cookout.
Yes. Well, okay. That would make a more interesting thing of what this group is.
But yeah, that's kind of my point there is you gotta have something to keep going. And like you just said, they haven't run into the wolves or the saviors or,
right. Or anybody that's
anybody that's, mobile.
Right. Like
Commonwealth.
Right. And the Whisperers were mobile. They would like leave from the north to go to their summer homes and then travel back.
And I understand that the U.S. is big, but you're on the East Coast and you've got all these groups out here, and it just makes me think that the likelihood of not being seen is kind of thin, especially when we go back to CRM has helicopters and they're flying around looking at things.
Right. And that you've managed to have this big group that just constantly wanders and you've never met someone that ended up just devastating you and then you don't exist anymore. So it just, So anyways, I mean, yeah, whatever. That's enough about them. It's just great to see, but yeah, it just didn't really fit.
Well, if you're going to go oxygen in the mall, then it's like, well, Morgan found the sonogram machine in the mall.
Which apparently
this mall has everything.
Everything. And that's the last place I would think to look at to go scavenge for anything.
Surgical suites are us.
Well, then the next thing was, of course, we've talked about this before, the CRM, because I don't understand what their whole premise is. They see a group and then their immediate reaction is just like, oh, let's just gas them and just kill them and get rid of them. And then you also have this whole thing where like people seem to be able to find them and then go through their whole A's and B process, and then that allows them to either come in to work for the populace.
Yeah,
and it's just like it's one of those. I don't know. It's just like one of those, like, you think of it like, okay, what's the logical concept, and the logical human thing is like survival, and usually a group and more people with more resources, whatever, is the better option to survive. And this is like the opposite, to where it's like, oh no, we're like going to control it. And then of course their whole like, we want to be, we keep everything secret. But then you're just out to just basically destroy the whole entire world. So it's like, so is this just like that good versus evil, the communist versus, the capitalists, like just like those weird things where it's like, oh, like that's their idea of like, that's what they want. And it just
make it make sense, Kyle. It make sense.
It just doesn't. So I don't know.
Right. Because the CRM will go out and they will kidnap people and bring people back. They will actively, quote unquote, recruit people.
Right.
But yet you've got this convoy of people that are potential, workers, but you just gas them without knowing who they are.
Right.
It's like you said, it's kind of schizophrenic and it doesn't really make sense. And we're still waiting for some sort of congruous answer to make it make sense.
Right. And that's what I'm like, there better be, because it doesn't, like, I can't think of anything at all of like what would even fit. It just seems very, I think we even talked about that. This got brought up during the kids show. It was just all like, I don't get it. Like, why are they doing this? They had these scientists that were trying to figure out how to utilize walkers or like slow them down with like fungus and blah 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 to solve basically that problem. But then it still seems very like, well, we're just going to just annihilate anybody because we just don't want to be friends or something.
Yeah.
It's just weird. Oh goodness. Anyway, so yeah, maybe we'll find out, and maybe it's so sinister that that's what Rick and Michonne and sidekick Jadis.
Or maybe it's something so simple that we're just overlooking it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
But I mean, they've been dangling this thing in front of us for how long?
Gosh.
And it's like, for everything that I feel like I get an answer for, there's still more questions. And the answers that I'm getting are not to the questions that I
have. No, exactly. It's just like, wait, that's not even related to my question.
It's good to know, but it's, it's got nothing to do with the matter at hand.
Oh, well, so we shall see.
We shall.
Yep. All right. Well, that was it for our what sauces. So let's get into our sad and aw sauce. Aww. All right.
Oh,
yeah, go for it.
Sorry. We'll start off with our all sauce with Glenn from Toronto, who says, R.I.P. Nat. With Michonne's friend dead, sort of even now with Rick's friend Okafor killed in the first episode. It's like, yes, don't be their friend.
Just don't be a new person.
Yes, don't be new.
They obviously don't like new people.
No.
Oh, goodness. All right. Renee from Fairburn, she says, the Nomad's dying, of course. That was sad. But the saddest for me was seeing Michonne crying her poor little heart out because she wasn't able to find Rick, and also knowing she had to go back home to her kids, and she was going to have to tell Judith she didn't find Rick. Yeah, that was at the place that...
Yep.
Which I have to say was like actually really kind of cool. It was like, so I guess maybe this must have been some place that either CRM or was a meeting place. So like, oh, go there for safety, whatever. And then basically it's like, well, they just killed you and just piled the bodies. But then you saw the dilapidated cruise ship. I thought that was really, really cool. I don't know. It was just kind of the scene of it all. It was just like, here's this huge cruise ship just like kind of tipped over and yeah, I don't know. It was a great scene, but yeah, it was seeing her cry being like, okay, I guess I have to accept that. Mm-hmm. She goes on and says, Michonne having to dumb herself down so she wouldn't be classified as an A, but that just goes to show you how much she trusts and loves Rick. Yep. She became Carol super quick. And then she's like crying, smiley face.
True.
It's no way Michonne didn't think about Carol when she said her name was Dana. Even when she met the Nomads, she seemed to be emulating Carol. She's too smiley and joyful. I could probably totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah. She's going to play the act to make them feel comfortable, but she's really just like, I just want a horse and then whatever information. But I don't know. I think later on she knew that they weren't like horrible people and a threat, and that she met some really cool people that died.
Yep.
And then she gives a sexy sauce. Michonne was giving hot and heavy. Mm-hmm. I was like, yes, Rick Grimes, you can definitely get it. And then little love emojis. Oh, goodness. All right. Thank you, Renee. All right. Well, that was it. So
I'm going to do a Kyle, and I'm going to say you can go first.
All righty. No, I just agree. It was like, Bailey, Aiden, and Nat. It's like, may you rest in peace. Because it was like, we laughed, we cried, and even though we hardly got to know you, it's like, thanks, Gimple.
Thanks, Gimple.
Yes.
Because, yes, I agree with you. We got some characters that I started to like, and it's like, no.
And it's like, what I hate the most is that I feel like I still get tricked into thinking like, oh, like I can't wait till they make it to Alexandria. Like, oh, I like these characters. Like, I can't wait to see. And it's like,
and that's why I hate being gimpled like that. Because I'm going, maybe there's a chance.
Nope. Yeah. It makes me angry.
Yeah.
Oh, well, did you have anything else to add? It's just the same.
No, sir, I did not.
All righty. All right. Well, then that takes us into our feedback.
We can talk about it. Done talking. Time to listen.
All right. As always, just lovely to get the voicemail from Renee. She also has some written feedback that we'll get to. So I will go ahead and play this.
Guys, this is Renee calling in from Fairburn. Hi, LT. Hi, Cal. Hi, Brian. Dieta, Glenn, Mike, everyone. I miss you guys. I really wish I could interact with you guys on social media. And I know that social media is going ham on the ones who live. And I hate that I'm missing all of the fun, but I'll be back March 31st. My fast will be over. And really, I really look forward to my fast every year. Giving up things that really helps me to be more disciplined in my life overall, but it also helps me to grow a closer relationship with God, knowing that He gives me the strength to be able to get through. But okay, I went to rambling. Mike's going to talk about me. Let's talk about the ones who live. Oh my goodness, this episode was so good. And I'm not upset because I did get somewhat of what I needed, even though we got Michonne's backstory. The second half was her and Rick getting back together again. That scene was so powerful. They have a lot of chemistry, you can feel it. And it's not just like an attraction or a love thing. It's like a respect thing. You could tell they have a lot of respect for each other off screen and on screen. I mean, it was really fantastic. And even though Rick did not find out about RJ, I do understand Michonne's thought process. I think that she was thinking that I can't tell him. Rick he's very emotional. He acts off of his emotions. And if he was to find out that he had a son that he never knew about, never got to raise, didn't get to see born because, he was there for Carl. Judith, even though Judith's not his, but Judith is his. I find myself trying not to say that because Judith is his. That's just like when you adopt someone. they're yours. That's your child. But he didn't get to. Well, he was there when she was born, but whatever. I think it's just it would be different with RJ, and she realizes that. Like, I need for him to stay focused. I need him to stay on point, to be ready when things pop off, because it's going to pop off. And I love when Rick was asking her, "Do you have anything that can say that you're from Alexandria?" And she was like, "I got this, I got that." And immediately she just trusted him. She was looking like, what? But she trusted him. She told him, she gave him everything. And the look on her face when that helicopter, I said plane the last time, I have no idea why I said plane, but helicopter, was getting ready to land. The way she was looking reminded me of Off Red, June Osborne on The Handmaid's Tales. That's how she always looked when they get ready to arrest her or whatever, because she was always getting in trouble and getting arrested. But she had that look like, listen, I got my baby back, I got my husband back, my boo back, and I'm telling you, you should have let him go when you had a chance, because we're getting ready to F things up. We're back together, the dream team. And when it comes to Michonne and Rick, if anyone, like Jada's with her bad haircut looking self, told Rick, if anyone can find you, would have been able to find you, it would have been her. So how they're going to take down an army, I don't know. But if anyone can do it, I believe that they could. I believe them two together. And I do believe that Rick was conning over whatever the black guy, and I cannot pronounce his name, when he was like, I'm in. I think that he was just trying to get him to, it was like a ploy. He was trying to get him to trust him. I just don't see it. I really, and then as soon as he saw Michonne, he was like, I'm not with them. And I just believe that. I mean, it's just no way. Like the black dude was saying, I killed my wife so I can help, thousands of other people. Listen, I'm going to put my family first. I don't even know those people. And Rick and Michonne is definitely going to put their family first. They have been doing it from the beginning, and that's what they're going to continue to do. I mean, I don't know no one that's going to be like, oh, my wife, she was, me and her, we was on the wrong side. I had to sacrifice her, and she understood. Hell no, I would come back and haunt my husband. Like, are you serious? So, no. And from what we saw with the caravan, with the nomads, they were not good people. They were not good people, and they're not good people. CRM is not. Whenever you try to control someone, because basically it's slavery, you can't leave. We're trying to. We don't want anyone to know. Jada's left. She went. That's how she ended up in Alexandria. So whenever you're trying to control people and manipulate people, no, you're not good people, because you should be able to come and go when you please. And other people finding out about them, I don't see how that's going to put them at risk. That makes no sense to me. And, even though that people have family, they have children, and you tell them they can't leave, nothing about you says you're good to me. That's my opinion. And I did enjoy the nomads. I hate the little guy died. He really reminded me of Tyrion from Game of Thrones. I really feel like he would have been an asset to Michonne and Rick and, the other people in Alexandria. But, I realized they used them, I guess, to show how Michonne was able to get back to Rick, and how the helicopter was, he was able to take the helicopter down, which of course was a lot of suspension of belief, but, and even with the gas, Michonne and him, they the only one to survive, or, but hey, this is a show about zombies, so anything goes on the show about zombies. But overall, the episode was really good. I need for them to let Rick know about RJ. I'm going to, even the next episode, I'll give a little leeway. But listen, he better know by the 4th. Now, I don't want to go to the 5th or 6th. He needs to know about his son. Because then on the other hand, I feel like he took that man's juggler for call, and he may become that Rick. Maybe he need that as well. So I understand her telling right now, but if she see, well, Rick is kind of, getting to the point where he just feel like we can't do it, you better tell him about RJ. do something to make him become Rick Grimes, who we know do not play and can take down anyone. So, and I do not want, they were saying, online, they're going to have, I'm on YouTube because, of course, I can't get on social media. And they were saying that there's going to be conflict or whatever. I don't want any conflict between Rick and Michonne. They can disagree, which, everyone disagree. And Rick's strong-minded, Michonne's strong-minded. But just to say that they did all of that. Rick cut his arm off. Michonne walking around with them stinky boots, hugging him and everything because she missed her man so much. It is no way that they would not support one another, come back together again. So no conflict, and I want all of them to live. I want everyone. Those people need a happy ending, and I want them to have a happy ending. I'm going to be upset if Michonne, Rick, they die. I'm going to be upset because all of this was for nothing. Neither one of them should die. They should be able to have a happy ending, somewhat of a happy ending. I mean, in a zombie apocalypse, of course. But all right, talk to you guys later. Peace and love.
Thank you, Renee. Always. It's such great feedback. Oh, love the voicemails. Can't wait till you're back in March, into March. Oh goodness. Yeah. So I wrote a couple things. I was just like, yeah, it's like, I think one of the cool, like, just, yes, I think Michonne and Rick are like just like the A team. Like they just, even if they've been this far apart for this long or whatever, but it's like you put them together, they know each other, they love each other, and they're also very, very capable. And there's kind of like, there's no question. They know, like Rick knows Michonne can do things that are not easy. And then, and make decisions, like those kind of decisions. And, and Michonne knows Rick can do the same. So, like, seeing them together, it is kind of like the power couple. You're just like, oh, man, CRM, you guys have no idea what you're up against, because that's just obviously for the show, but we know that's like they're right. That is just what these two do. I do agree that it was like, Michonne for sure was like, I'm not going to give you all the information because it's like we're just together finally, and he wants to know how like the kids are doing and all that other stuff. But she's just like, no, you keep your eye on the ball. So I can totally agree with that. She knows. She's like, I need Rick can be unstable at times. So if he's not just looking at his eye on the prize, then she's gonna make sure that she holds back some of that stuff. So
yep.
All right. Thank you, Renee. And then she went on with some of her written feedback. She's another great episode. I'm super excited about the next episode, and I can't wait to see Rick's reaction when he finds out he has a son. I don't want any of the OGs to die, and I want everybody to have a happy ending, and I don't want too much conflict between Rick and Michonne, because to me, that wouldn't be realistic after they did everything to get back to one another, which I would agree with what I said. It's just like, I don't want that kind of conflict. There should be no conflict.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wish I could binge watch the episodes because I really want to know what's going to happen. A week seems like forever. Kyle, don't worry about mispronouncing words. I do it all the time. And when I'm writing my feedback, I worry about my grammar and my punctuation marks because I tend to write like I speak. Country. I'm right there with you. It's like I don't really like typing and writing, and I have my little spell checker grammar thing that just highlights it all and fixes it all for me. And I definitely try to make a conscious effort to make my feedback as clear as possible, but sometimes when you guys are reading it, I'm like, damn, did I really write that? Shrug emoji.
And yes, you
Face
did.
palm. LT, I know you're going to eat this episode up with all the suspension of disbelief in this episode. Peace and love, and then peace emoji.
It's like, how well you know me, Renee.
Thank you as always.
All right, next up is Dieta from Detroit, who says, another great episode. Really liked the people that Michonne linked up with. Hated to see them not make it, especially after they helped her escape the horde. I was hoping that they would make it along with Nat. I agree with Mike. Nat and Eugene would have made a hell of a team. Too bad we'll never get to see it. So when Michonne and Nat were held up in that store, he created those rocket bombs thinking he'd be ready for the next helicopter attack. Nat could have helped Michonne and Rick take down the CRM with his gadgets. Oh well, Michonne has to infiltrate the CRM instead of running. Michonne doesn't mention RJ yet. Sad face. Overall, another great episode. Can't wait to see Michonne get her revenge on the CRM. Hopefully Rick realizes they have to get out, especially since Jadis threatened to expose Alexandria's existence. And she says, what sauce? The homemade skyrocket bombs. Love the idea, but it really make a man explode and bring down a whole helicopter. Chin scratch. It's very creative because the last episode had us thinking they were in a full-fledged war zone, only to find out it was one person with some homemade skyrockets. And she has several laughing faces after that.
Yep. Good one. All right. Well, thank you, Dieta. I can't agree more. Oh, goodness. I don't know. Well, yeah. So that's the thing. So Rick doesn't know about the Commonwealth. So, yeah, he knows about Alexandria. Do you think Jadis knows about the Commonwealth? I don't know if, she's been doing...
Could be. We don't know.
Yeah.
See, that's the whole thing, is that it's a question.
Yeah, because it's like a lot has happened since the bridge and, then Jadis and World Beyond and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting to be like, he's not like, oh, no, don't expose Alexandria. But it's like, well, they're all at the Commonwealth now, and Alexandria is actually, it's like they're a bit bigger community now. All right, Mike from Asheville, he says the show is wasting no time. Michonne are back together. Jada stepped in and is questioning Rick. Michonne is going to burn the army to the ground. She just needs to convince Rick it's possible. The gas bombing was intense, shows how brutal the CRM really are. And I was surprised that at least a year went by where Michonne was basically stuck in one place trying to recover from the gas. Was not expecting that. And he goes on, he said Nat would be an amazing character to bring back for TOWL.
That's a possibility, because you could do stories about him independent of what actually happened.
Yep. No, true.
So then we got... Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
And then we got Glennis from Toronto, who says Nat kitted Michonne out with that armor like a medieval knight. That group that Michonne was being encouraged to join reminded me of gypsies, always keeping on the move and traveling in caravans. And she says, the walkers migrate now like herds of animals? Well, we kind of knew they did with the Whisperers, but it seems interesting that they're moving like they were. And she says, don't understand the extermination of all life by the red-marked soldiers. They're not even asking or assessing if the person is an A or a B and killing them like they're pests. Right. Like Mike Rollo said, Michonne and Nat took a year to recover from that gassing as the rooftop window showed the passing of time from autumn with the leaves falling on the glass roof, winter with the snow, summer with the greenery, and then back around to autumn again before they left. I laughed when Nat said Michonne must pull his cart for him, and she solved doing that manual labor herself by getting a walker to do it for her. Clever. Well, that's been Michonne's trick.
Yeah.
I love seeing the scenes leading up to Rick and Michonne's reunion this time from Michonne's perspective. That was very well done. And the setup of Nat with Michonne's sword, so Michonne would be incorporated into the CRM. Is Michonne being taken on as a soldier with that CRM jacket she was wearing? We don't know. No, she may just be working at the walker killing windows. Because was Michonne surveying CRM from that vantage point of what her and Rick can take over? A little like Rick and Carol were planning to do with Alexandria that time. Or she may just have been getting a lay of the land.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Okay, Michonne can contact Alexandria with all those bristling antennas, but Michonne and Rick doesn't know of the existence of the Commonwealth, which they need to overthrow the CRM. But even then, the CRM is much more powerful than the Commonwealth with their military might. The only option I would think is to win over the CRM soldiers and have a coup like Daryl and Carol did at the Commonwealth against Pamela. It's going to be a little harder. Too many people.
Yeah.
Okay, Michonne has Nat's lighter engraved with danger, Nat's stepdad. I'm sure she feels like burning CRM down to the ground with what they did to her newly found friends and Nat. Jadis is the spanner in the works, and she is still flirting with Rick, saying he's looking fine. I mean, she already double-crossed him in Alexandria with siding with Negan, although she did save Rick from being killed by the CRM with saying he was a B instead of an A, and then he was whisked off in the CRM chopper in The Walking Dead Season 9, Episode 5. But she might still have designs on Rick, and she's a danger to Michonne, as Jadis won't have the same fuzzy feelings that she has for Rick extended to Michonne. I'd say Michonne is in a very precarious position. And I would agree.
Yeah.
Because now Rick has an Aunt May.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Rick now has somebody that he can go, oh no, don't do that, Michonne, no. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, I from what she was saying about, I guess that's kind of the question. It's like, we know that, what's his face, and I can't think of his name. Anyways, from last episode, he's trying to get Rick and, the other soldier, in saying like, we need a change of guard, the leadership, blah, blah, blah. And then also we saw last episode with the citizenry that there are still like some kind of looking like there's some protests or like misgivings of like what the situation is. So we know that there's already something brewing in that area. So like, again, now that we have Jadis, basically, I'm going to keep this off the record, and what's her angle? So there's obviously something else going on, and yeah, it's not going to be the Commonwealth coming to save the day. There's going to be the internal, again, our group has a very good knack about bringing other communities to destruction. All right, well, anyways, LT, do you have anything to add?
I don't.
All right. Well, we don't really have it. We're not going to be covering ratings and stuff like that. The only news that I have, and it's not really news, it's just I kind of came across a few things that was just talking about. There's always, I get the emails that just say like, oh, it's like, I think I tagged it for like Fear and then like Walking Dead, but they're talking about Morgan possibly could make some crossover, and I'm like, there's no way that that's going to happen. I don't see it. Like, this was all about Rick and Michonne. That there's not going to be anybody else coming into this. I just don't see it. So, well, I think people just like to do the crazy rumors or just like, hey, let's just speculate, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, no, that's not going to happen.
I'm like, come on, guys.
Yeah, it's like, why? And then I know it's like, I don't know what that would even add. Like, I don't know. There's no, like, I mean, because they were saying it's like, Michonne, when she was doing her little interview, like, she mentioned like, she's like, I had my bow staff. And it's like, just because she says bow staff doesn't mean it's like, she's referring to Morgan. I was like, no, that's a stretch.
No.
So anyways, that's it. That was all there is. All right. Well, LT, do you want to tell people how to interact with us?
I will. We want to encourage you to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. That's at Walking Dead TTM. To submit your theories and feedback, most people post in our designated episode thread in our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/WalkingDeadTTM. You can send us email. That's walkingdead@talkthroughmedia.com. You can also use our feedback form on the webpage. That's at talkthroughmedia.com/feedback. If you'd like to leave us voicemail, remember you can call 216-232-6146. And all of our new episodes are on YouTube. Just search for Talk Through Media and remember to subscribe and click that bell to get notified when we have new videos. Those videos go out first before the podcast does.
And to support us, like and review the Talk Through Media Facebook page. You can find that at facebook.com/talkthroughmedia. And as always, the best way you can support us is in our Patreon. You can find that at patreon.com/walkingdeadtalkthrough. And we would like to thank our Patreon supporters, Renee Murray, Dieta Patterson, that guy over there, Lawrence Todd.
Hello.
And this guy, me, Kyle McAdams. Dieta and Renee will be getting an early episode of a version of the episode this week. You can subscribe to us in Apple Podcasts or your podcast client of choice. And while you're there, give us a rating or review. You can also leave us a review at podchaser.com. There, you can actually rate individual episodes or the whole podcast. And as always, remember to share our posts on Facebook and Twitter when we post them, or tell a friend. Word of mouth is the best way to get us new listeners. All right, well, Brian is not here with us. I know James and Kim are still covering Rebinged Voyager, and it's been going really great. I'm just a few episodes behind, so definitely check that out if you are into that. Voyager is one of my favorite Star Treks, and so I'm so excited that they're covering it. I know Prodigy is supposed to be coming back at some point on Netflix or something like that. Mm-hmm. So hopefully we'll get some news, or like I don't know if they've said any dates or nothing like that. I thought there was...
I think season 1 may be out. It's season 2 that we're waiting in breathless anticipation for.
And Discovery is coming back, and I forgot the date, but yeah, it's I guess now probably maybe 4 weeks away before that's supposed to start.
It's soon. I think it's next month.
Yeah. So if you want to catch up on the Star Trek podcasts, you can go to StarTrekDiscoveryPodcast.com or the Facebook group at facebook.com/group Star Trek TTM Podcasts. And yeah, just check it out. All right, next week, The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, Season 1, Episode 3, titled Bye. Written by Gabriel Llanes and Matthew Nkweti. Directed by Michael Sovis. Description on YouTube TV is Rick and Michonne must find a way to survive. All right, so until next time, I'm Kyle.
And I'm LT.
And this is The Walking Dead Talk. Good night, everyone.
Good night.